Welcome back to JA Career Success. This is going to be visit 5, but it's jumping to session 7, which is called Knowing Your Personal Brand. And this is going to be all about resumes, cover letters, and social media profiles. So what you're going to do this time, we do want you to do it the way the book says. This is a phenomenal activity that JUSA has written, and you want to use the guidebook pretty much as written. You'll notice there are a few helpful tips that you want to read just in conjunction to that. But overall, you're going to use your guidebook for this specific activity. What you want to do in the beginning is to talk a little bit about brand. And obviously, there are companies that brand themselves all the time. And what I like to do is I like to have anybody who has a logo or a brand on their shirt to stand up. And then I just pick a few of them and I talk about, what do you say? Pros, cons, what are the first words that jump out when you see that brand? And I might pit them against each other if we've got a Viking shirt and a Packers shirt in the same room. I love that because we get the boos and the yays and really getting to see how everybody looks at things differently when it comes to brand. And what is that initial recognition that comes with it? And transition that into your personal brand. We have our own personal brand. When the students walk in, what does the teacher think of them? Are they thinking, oh, always late, never on time? Or are they thinking prompt, hard worker, considerate, kind? And so I always challenge the students to think about what are those words that are going to come to be in regard to their personal brand. And that affects us in high school as well as someday getting a job. So I always say, what does your friend's parents think when you walk in the room? What does the teacher think? What does a potential employer think when you walk into the room? And what do you want them to think? Because now is the time, as we're talking in career success, all those soft skills, they can be working on those things today to impact them in their future. Okay, so talk about brand in your introduction, and then what you're going to do is jump into the actual activity. One of my favorite activities of the JA suite, and what they're going to do is you're going to split the students into small groups. You can have up to 8 groups, and each student is going to get one of these personal brand packets. And each group of students is going to get these candidate records. So what you're going to notice is there's 3 with a spacer sheet. So the 3 goes to one group, and then you're going to want to give the next 3 to the next group, etc. So they all get the same thing, but what you're going to notice is that these are candidate records, and there's 3 different people. We have Ryan, Pat, Mick, and Allison. So you have a social media profile. Then you have a cover letter, if there is one submitted, as well as a resume, okay? What the students are going to do in their small groups is they have formed an HR committee, and they are supposed to decide who they would bring in for an interview. They can bring in 1, they can bring in all 3, they don't have to bring in any. It's really up to them, but they have to have the reason why along with it. So in order to get there, there is a rubric inside their personal brand packet. So what you're going to notice is that as they're looking at these records, they're going to be working through this rubric and jotting notes and kind of ranking the candidates along the way. Also, they're going to have cover letter tips, resume tips, as well as some digital profile tips over here that they should consider. So I usually kind of let them go. So I let them do the whole thing, and then I pull it whole group. Some volunteers like to just focus on the resume and then move on to just focusing on the cover letter and then move on to just looking at the digital profile. You can do it either way, but I like to have them have the full snapshot, and then I bring in whole group and I say, okay, how many of you guys would bring in Ryan? How many of you would bring in Allison? How many would you bring in Mick? And then I start having that dialogue. Why, yes or no, pros and cons. And what I love about this is I don't take the time to literally go through every single tip. They're going to bring that stuff out in their conversation. I love that they are doing their self-exploration learning. So they're going to start picking out some of those things like really weird email addresses or unprofessional colors or things like that. And so what you want to do is take a little bit of time to look at it and have some of your own major ideas that you want to bring out, or if you have some tips and tricks that you want to make sure to highlight with resumes, etc. But notice on page 52, JUSA has also given us kind of an answer key, things to consider for each of the candidates. So this is a great spot to go for some talking prompts as well. Okay, so basically throughout this, they are getting the opportunity to look at the importance of resumes, cover letters, and then the biggest thing is, I think, their digital footprint. So we want you to really highlight and hammer to the students that what they're putting out on social media can dramatically affect their futures. And we want you to emphasize that. We know that scholarship committees, college admission offices, as well as employers, they are now taking the time to search candidates via social media and digital profiles before they select candidates. And what they're doing in their personal lives is going to be reflective in their potential of getting some of these different things that they might want to obtain. So again, bring in your personal experiences, bring in your resume if you're willing to show it. Talk to the students a little bit about some of the do's and don'ts that you've learned along the way as well. Really fun, very interactive, and it's one of my favorite activities. So I hope you have a great time in the classroom as well. Thanks so much.